Hello, this is the LEGO City Modular Space Station set for 2024. This cost me $110 US, and it comes with 1,097 pieces, which I assembled all together with the wonderful community over on Twitch. As you can see, this comes with 6 minifigures plus one little robot over here. We'll take a closer look at those later. Each of these modules is its own thing that can be separated out, and they are compatible with other modular things that LEGO has done in the past that use this same piece for the end, this same connector piece. You'll probably recognize the shape of that there, though it is in the newer, what I'm calling persimmon orange color. Previously called it papaya orange, but it's like persimmon. It's a darker orange color, but we've gotten that piece before in gray, and this can work with the other space themes as well as the underwater theme if you want to mix things together a little bit. Some of these have end caps on them that can easily be pulled off like that, just a simple little thing, and then each one of them can be opened up to get access to whatever that particular module does. In this case, it's a workshop, so a little workshop. There's some tools in there, and the idea is that you can build things or take things in there to repair stuff. As you can see, you can put about one minifigure in each of these. Technically, you could put 2 in there, but it's definitely tight quarters. So the idea is you'd probably do that, pose them up a little bit. It is a bit difficult to get in there and actually actively play in each of these spaces. That is a little bit of a disappointment for me. Each of these has a sticker on one end. Anywhere that you see the transparent color, the transparent black, it's the new transparent black, the newer transparent black, not the old trans brown. Technically, it's a really good color. It's a lot more deeply tinted than the old color was, but it's just it's closer to an actual black, so it looks like a more neutral tint. This whole ring here has these inner gear, ring gear elements in there, but those are not actually used as gears. Nothing actually rotates around here. The whole thing itself does not rotate. If this looks like it can do lots of fancy stuff, it just looks like that. They're just using these pieces to create the shape there and to create the sturdy foundation to attach everything else to. Now, technically, there is a wheel. Like there's a wheel here, the wheel there, there's a wheel on the other side. Technically, you can kind of get this sort of thing going. Oh boy! Oh, careful! Whoa! Careful! Right. So you can do that carefully, but it's not really intended to have any real motion or action going on with it. Each of these is able to just rotate a little bit, but mostly you just have this sturdy foundation here so that you can pick this thing up. The next, I'll just go ahead and go through the modules. Wait, which was the last one that I picked? I think it was this one, right? Was the workshop? Yeah. We'll pick this one. Next, the biodome is very small. It's so small, it just has some vegetables growing in there. But of course, you can put each of these in any location around there, swap them out. And because you have this connector at the end, you can also start to add multiple ones on to one another. So you can make one section longer. If you have an additional module or 2 or more from other sets, you can add them on sequentially. So you're not limited to the number of slots that are on here initially. Going around, I'll take this one out, but this next one has the window on top, and you open that up, and that is sleeping quarters. Just one though. So you've got a hat there that somebody can switch out to when they're not using their helmet, and then they've got a spot to put the helmet instead. Or of course, you can just swap them back and forth. This set does not come with extra hair pieces and things, unfortunately. It would have been nice to at least come with additional hats, if not hair pieces, since this is kind of suggesting a habitat where people would be staying long term, where scientists and astronauts would be having some longer term stays to do their research and such. And I think that LEGO generally should include extra headgear pieces whenever they possibly reasonably can. This is a kitchen, so there's a sandwich being made there. You got a water bottle and a coffee maker off to the side, and just a little seat. It's just that. It's just a little modified plate or modified tile, depending upon how you look at it. So again, one person is intended to be able to sit there comfortably. This module is a dock for a speeder, or a space bike, as they call it. And you've got a little power module there. These are exchangeable between the different sets from this series. And then this just holds a single figure. So a figure can stand there and then just,
run around with it. Reminds me a little bit of a certain Call of Duty vehicle. It also reminds me a little bit of a certain Star Wars speeder vehicle. You can fold these up, fold them down a little bit if you want to, just to have something a little bit different. But, it's just a little, essentially, space mobility device. I did skip over the main kind of command module and control module there. I'll get back to that. This space is a lab. This is kind of nice because they've used this print piece, which was introduced for this series in particular. They use this print to kind of have an overlay there. They use the open spot there, the round kind of viewport almost there, to show you the slide that's behind it, or the petri dish, I guess, that's behind it. And then you've got another battery over here, and I don't know what that's supposed to be. Is it supposed to be some fungus, or is it just literally ice cream? It could be either. But this is a nice little setup. Again, I just really wish it was easier to get in there and interact with the minifigure and with multiple minifigures at that. There's a power module. This makes a lot of sense. So you've got these solar panels. These are printed really well. Good quality stuff. They're very nice and consistent with the opacity, consistent with the surface, and just a really good, solid, nice print to see. And all of these orange pieces, once again, are the new darker orange color. Nice little communication dish right there. It's nice also that this can be pulled off and used by itself, even though it is kind of filler material in the sense that it uses less pieces and provides, I think, less value than the rest of this stuff. Well, that's arguable. It just doesn't feel like as much as these modules. These feel like the bread and butter of the whole thing to me. But then this is actually a shuttle. So this can be used for controlling the whole thing. If you want to imagine it traveling through space for an interstellar mission, hey, you can use your imagination. That is okay. Has a couple of these power modules on there, and these do use the iridescent colored or iridescent effect pieces with the trans purple, and then they have the metallic light blue or cyan colored metallic flake in there. One of them in one of the modules had the pink color instead, but this can be attached the same way. You've got the tiny little fins off on the side. I like the look of this a lot, and this one has access for, once again, strictly speaking, one minifigure, but you can stick another one back there. You can have another person who's just sitting, who's not going to be attached to anything. I think that's perfectly fine with no additional studs back there. I think that makes sense because you don't want somebody to get stuck back there and then you have to take the whole thing apart to get them, to get their legs unstuck or something. So figure would just sit there in the front. And I think this looks pretty good. Now, with this connection here, what you can do, you see, is you can start to connect different, start to tear that apart a little bit, but you can connect different ones of these together. What I'm going to do is go ahead and take all of these off and put them together in a line. Now, I love this, but also at the same time, it is a failure because there are a couple of modules that would not fit into a line. You can't put all of them together there because not all of them have attachments at both ends. The biodome here only attaches from one side, and the little port or harbor attachment for the space bike or the speeder also only has an attachment at one end. So there's a little bit of limitation there. I did notice while doing this, though, that I could potentially hook other things on with clips to the edges of this. That could get interesting over time if you start to use some of your own parts and bring in some other things. But this is I just really like this because you can imagine it being like a rocket. You can imagine it being just an interstellar transport or habitation setup itself. I think this is cooler myself because even if you don't have the direct connections between the different sections through airlocks, you can imagine people traveling from one to the next and going back and forth. It feels more hub-like, ironically, even though, the circle, you would think, the ring system, you would think makes the most sense there where everybody is, has easy access to everybody else. But here with this linear system, it's like a space train. Of course, I like trains. I'm biased there. But also, it's just cool. I wish that they made it easier to connect things off to the sides as well. So I could put the biodome over here and I could, just attach the little speeder off to the side or something like that. Also, in this sort of configuration, you don't have a good suggestion of propulsion. You do have to imagine that a little bit. You know, there's no rocket exhaust or anything like that. Of course, this would probably be for longer distance travel. It depends on how serious you take it. But I think that having just a short module similar to the Biodome, but with rocket exhausts instead, would be a nice option, both for this and for the ring. So you could suggest it moving through space for long-term, very, very, very long distance travel. But of course, this can be expanded with any of the modules that have connectors at both ends, or you can put any single-ended one out here. So I could potentially put the Biodome here instead, or I could put the little dock for the bike. Here are a few of the astronaut figures, and you'll see throughout this series that they do vary things beyond just the colors. The changes of colors are nice, but here you've got these dual molded bases for the helmets, and then you've got the larger, more hazmat style one over there. This one also has the armor on. This orange color, or this yellow color, is the flame yellowish orange or Keat orange color, and this blue is dark azure. Notice you've got the single stud on the back there with the recolored back pieces on that. You've got 4 studs on the back there, so you can change things up, and also the clip for attachment. It's nice to have extra attachment pieces. It would have been nice to have alternate faces too. And then here are the other 3, with one of them being particularly different. This one over here has the dark green color for the arms and also the helmet, and then gold colored hands, whereas these have the dark blue colored hands, and this is bright green, not regular green, but bright green for the helmet, which matches also the backpack pieces. These are prints over here, and you'll see that throughout this series. Got the nice add-on visor or add-on sensor and viewing device on one eye there with the new print. And here's this print that's reused between these two, and also the double up there. These are on swivels a little bit, so you can change the angles of them. I don't know exactly what they're supposed to represent, but you can definitely use your imagination. They can also be brought off to the side, which then allows them to be angled back a little bit more, so you can do some different stuff with that. I personally would probably put some transparent colored studs on the back here to represent thrusters for those. There's a better look at these face prints, including this new and exclusive and interesting one here, which is actually really well drawn, especially with the proportions, the relative positions of the eye and the mouth and the shape of the mouth. I think it's unique, but once again, no alternate faces. And finally, there is this little robot, and this one has no legs and no traction device on it. It just has thrusters. So this one's intended to be able to just fly around in space in zero grav and help the astronauts and transport things around and help with repairs and such. So this one has the smaller, the single cell, I guess, battery for it, and the alternate color of pink for a single cell one is something that represents, I guess, charge being dissipated. This, unfortunately, is a sticker here. They definitely could have brought in a print, I think, for that. But, this has just basic functions and just basically acts as almost a whole other figure. Then this is what I have for leftover pieces. I apologize. I may have dropped one piece at some point or something. So this might not be exactly precise, but it's pretty close. And you see the 2 prints that are included there. And this is what the sticker sheet looked like. All of these here are just for the airlock doors. Once again, the price of this was $110 US. It is 100 euros, 90 pounds UK, 140 Canadian dollars, which equates to about $105 US. Do I feel like this is worth it for its 1,097 pieces? Not quite, but it's close enough that I'm not going to call the price the main issue with this one by today's standards. I think my biggest issue with this is what I've mentioned already several times, just the amount of space inside of each of the modules. It just needs to be a little bit bigger. I would like to be able to even imagine a smaller child-sized hand being able to get in there and interact with 2 figures side by side. I think probably would have needed another 2 to 3 studs of length. So, it's probably going to end up being 2 to 4 each though. And that does add up quite a bit. Of course, these modules are the standard ones that will work with the other sets from
this current season. There are 3 sets in total that come with these so far, as well as, like I mentioned, the others from earlier seasons that use that same piece. Also, for the sake of display, and this is for folks of all ages, not just adults, would have been nice to have a stand. A lot of folks, when I was building this on Twitch, were commenting about that. Does it have a stand? Is there a way to set up a stand for it? It would be nice if it had a stand. I agree. Because when it's flat like this, just look at that. For your view of it. It's not particularly fun to look at, but when you think of a space station, like you think of the ISS set that they did, which is on a stand. You think of most space model things that are done, things that are intended to be in orbit or in transit, post orbit. There's always a stand to make it look like it's either there in orbit or it's flying on off, into the unknown or whatnot. So yeah, it's just something to hold it at that angle right there would have been perfect. That angle, that's what I want. It's not straight on like this. Something, yeah, right about there, so that you have the front end, the command module facing kind of towards you, but then you've also got it, just all off on every single angle. Would have been absolutely perfect. Otherwise, overall, this is pretty fun. I love modularity. I love systems. I'm not mad at all about the fact that the ring doesn't actually work. Nothing actually works inside of there. You got all of these attachment points, which I don't think I talked about enough. The bars where you can attach figure hands onto. So you've got plenty of spots where you can have figures pose around this, doing things on, in the center, going from one end to the next, attaching around here and everything. So lots of good stuff with this. And I definitely like the entire system and the entire series. A little cheaper would have been nicer. A little bit more room would have been nicer. That's about it for now. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.